What's going on, guys? Welcome back to our Let's Play here on the Bedrock edition. Now, today we're back over near our man cave, well, next to our little town. I need to get out of this view before I die. So we're over here at our little town area, and I've got a couple of things I actually want to get done today. Now, I am working on the sort of big project still. I'm still clearing out the slime chunks from my last episode, and I'm still flattening terrain, and I'll show you, well, I may show you some changes that I've made in that area. But I came over here. Actually, I'm going to have to sleep before mobs start spawning and it gets a little bit dangerous. Head on over here. Go back in here. Come on, hurry up. And quickly sleep. Yeah, there's some changes that I've had to make over in that area. Now, with the simulation distance, obviously at 10, the area that I've marked out isn't going to be nowhere near big enough. So actually, before I head out there, yeah, that area is not going to be near big enough, so I may have to lower my simulation distance down to 4 or to 6. And if I do it to 6, I'm still going to have to expand the area a bit. But I actually came down to this area to smelt up some glass, because obviously that area is going to require an absolute ton of glass. So I started smelting, then after I smelted one batch of glass, I came and I wanted to smelt up another batch of fuel. So, because the actual blocks were running a bit low, so I crafted some more, filled them all back up. And then I realised that I wasn't actually getting any kelp coming through. So I went up top to check, and what I didn't realise is that the last update that they done apparently changed our water mechanics again to match that of the Java edition. So it's broken the kelp farm again. So the second time that it's done it, and I'll show you how it's broken it, is I've patched all of this up to stop the water flowing out, as you can see it's doing down there. What's happening now is that when the kelp grows up into flowing water going downwards, instead of the kelp breaking off and spitting it out like it used to be, it's now creating water source blocks as it's growing, which once again has broken the farm. Because initially what's happening is that they were growing and the flowing water flowing downwards. When it broke, the items were no longer flowing up in flowing water going down, if that makes sense. So then we changed it to have lines of soul sand to bump the items back up to the surface to flow along. And then they chose to change the water mechanics again. So when the kelp's growing, it's made water source blocks. So what I'm having to do now is clear out all of the kelp, clear out all of the blocks, and I'm going to tear it all down and build it again from scratch. And because I've already done this twice now in this series, I don't want to waste an entire episode rebuilding the kelp farm. So what we want to do is that we want to fix the kelp farm quickly. That shouldn't take longer than about 4 or 5 minutes, well, on camera. For me, it's going to take 4 or 5 hours. I want to get a cactus farm up, and then I'm actually going to want your input on a decision that I honestly can't make regarding our man cave. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to crack on and get the rest of this cleared out, get the platform sort of laid in, and bring you back after I made a little bit of progress. Okay, so after quite a lot of time now, because all of them blocks were water source blocks, it took me ages. I ended up having to use my sponges to clear out the water. So I've cleared all of that out, and the walls were bugging me because they had granite and diorite and andesite, cobblestone, stone bricks. It had a whole assortment of random blocks on the side, so I've replaced all of the walls with just stone bricks, just to make it very clean cut and a lot easier to work with. Now what I've done down here is, let me quickly eat, is I've done a little sort of gully in the middle where we're going to have our flowing water going down to our hoppers, which is going to be taking the kelp to feed into our furnace system. We're then going to have water along the bottom here, pushing everything to the centre that drops. We've got 6 platforms up already. Now, I'm only going to have 6 platforms, so the output of this farm is going to be considerably less, like, yet again. Our initial farm design had hundreds upon hundreds of kelp plants. Our second design halved that completely by having to have every other line in soul sand. And now this farm design has got to be a lot smaller because we're only going to have 10 kelp plants on each side of each platform. So each platform's 10 wide, which means we'll have 120 kelp plants, I think that is. Is that right? 6 times 20? Yeah, 120. Yeah, maths on camera is not good for me. So we're going to have about 120 kelp plants, and it's going to be using the sort of same redstone with observer mechanics that we use for a sugarcane farm, which I really didn't want to use, but I was trying to think of different farm designs to do for a kelp farm, and none's going to be nearly as efficient as that regarding redstone. I hate that they've changed the water mechanics, because I think they're pushing people into only having one of two ways of actually doing kelp farms now, and one is using flying machines, which we all know in Bedrock Edition doesn't work too well, and the second is through observer blocks, which is highly disappointing. Using the water mechanics as they were was a lot better and a lot more creative. You could do a lot more things with it, but now that they're changing it purely because they thought it was a bug, I don't think that's the thing. It's like, it wasn't a bad bug. It was a good bug that actually allowed the water mechanics to be used in particular ways. But yeah, unfortunately they changed that. So what I'm going to do is do a quick time lapse of me building up this farm, and then after I build it all up and I've got everything set in place, I'll bring you back to show you how it all works. So yeah, back in a bit. Right, now that time lapse is opened up, that took me probably the better part of about an hour to an hour and a half to actually input the entire farm. I can see all the kelp just popping up over in that direction. Now what we've got is a very simple farm design. So what happens is that when one piece of kelp reaches the observer blocks, that will read it, it will send a signal to a redstone dust which is running just underneath this line of blocks here, which is then connected to a sticky piston with a redstone block. That then gets shot down onto a redstone line which is feed into all of these pistons on either side. So as soon as one bit of kelp reaches the observer block, both sides of this unit here will get activated at the same time. So that's all working out pretty well. And what we've got here is at the top of the observer blocks, we've got flowing water going down. So when the items flow up to the top, they then get flown over to this glass pane. And let me go quickly sleep yet again. For some reason, whenever I hit record, it chooses to become nighttime. Can I sleep? There we go. So yes, hopefully this should solve our kelp problems and give us enough fuel to carry on smelting, because this project that I've got planned for over in the other area regarding our hostile mobs is going to use an absolute ton of it. Now with this thing itself, I'm thinking of covering it with just a layer of glass. Oh, did not want to fall down there. Which should look alright, and then I want to actually build a building on top of it. I was initially going to have the cactus farm over here. And the reason that I want a cactus farm is because I need green dye for using carpets in our big project. And also you use green dye for making like the cyan dye, which I like using in quite a few things. But the way this works, before I get sort of sidetracked explaining that, is that the items flow over to the glass, and then because there's a gap between the glass and the bottom blocks, they will actually float and just hit the side of the glass, go all the way down into the water streams below, and then all get fed into our hoppers feeding our furnace system, which is extremely handy. So at the moment I've got that sort of collecting enough kelp to do another smelting operation. What I usually do, because you have to make sure that you've got enough kelp in the system as to not waste the dried kelp blocks, otherwise you'll end up running out of fuel. Is it here? There we go. So what I have been doing is, rather than having the furnace system running constantly, is that I'll let it sort of build up a backlog of kelp. So all of this is now backlogged, and it should start backlogging into these hoppers. And then when these are filled, what I'll do is I'll hit this switch over here. It will pull back the droppers from feeding any more kelp into the system. I'll let that all smelt up into dried kelp. Now I've already got a ton here that I need to change into dried kelp blocks. And then I'll turn that all into the blocks, feed it into our fuel input, which is just over here. That will then get fed evenly into all of our furnaces to carry on smelting everything that we need smelted. So yeah, one good thing about replacing the entire farm is that the packed ice doesn't come down as low as this, which means I can get some leaf blocks and fill this area in here, which will make this room look a lot more better, because I did not like the light blue of the stained glass there. But yeah, now that's all done and out the way with, I actually want to find somewhere to put our cactus farm. So we actually have got a building that we're not yet using. So that's all done now. Also, I went around, I've been adding coarse dirt to the edges of our pathway, and I've also added some coarse dirt along the sort of grass pathway blocks on some of the houses and around the trees, and I've been putting long grass just to sort of add a little more texture and variety. And I think gradually building up the area using different things like that, like I might throw in some podzol as well, just to sort of tone it down a bit, because it is very, very green and bland. But yeah, back to what we're working on is we want a cactus farm. So what I was thinking is to utilize this house as sort of our cactus producing house. Obviously we're going to need a lot more room than what we've got actually inside this house. So what I'll probably do is, because cactus farms are so simple, I'm just going to do another quick time lapse. Yep, there's going to be 2 time lapses in one episode. So what I was thinking of doing is doing just a very simple cactus where it grows. We'll have the sand sitting on string, one above another, and we'll dig down to bedrock, probably 4 different ways, and then we'll have that feeding into a soul sand elevator, and then we'll just have all of the cactus brought up to this building itself, which means I've got to double check to see if we've actually got anything sitting underneath this building. I'm hoping that we don't, but I'm not too sure. Where is it that we want the actual cactus to be coming up? Probably over this side, isn't it? And where's the center? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So great, there's no center. 3. So these 2 are going to be our center points. Let's just see if there's anything down here. I'm worried that we're going to be running into our actual man cave doing this, which we more than likely are going to be, because it is quite a stretch to replace shoot. Don't know why that random hole's there. Yeah, this is probably the safest way to dig down as well, to save you digging down into lava. You're always going to land on a solid block. Let's dig all the way down to bedrock and just see if we run into anything. It's looking alright so far, and I don't think our man cave actually spreads down this far. Yeah, I think we're good. Sweet. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to crack on and get this cactus farm done in the form of a time lapse. So yeah, see you back in a bit. Alright then guys, so it's been about a week or so since I've done that last bit of recording, and that is because I came down with a bit of a bug and I was feeling worn out for about a week, so I didn't actually get around to doing any recording. But we finished off the cactus farm in a time lapse, and then in between then and now I've done a little bit of cosmetic changes. I got rid of the 2 trees out front and replaced it with windowsills, just indicating that there's cactus by throwing some cactus in some plant pots, and I've got some cactus growing inside the building. It doesn't make much sense, but it's a clear indication that this building is designated as our sort of cactus farm. So down below we've got 4 different columns of cactus plants growing. There's about 10 cactus plants in each side. There's about 40 altogether, and although it does produce it very slowly, we are gradually building up some cactus now. So we've got a fair few stacks now, which is all happy days there. I have had to make a couple of changes to the kelp farm. I'm running into a bit of an issue with it, where if I'm over in that way, if I've only got the farm half loaded, that the kelp farm, where it's growing and the kelp is creating the water source blocks, sometimes it's creating water source blocks in front of the observers. So when that happens, it will sometimes fail to set off the redstone mechanism when only half of it's loaded. So the plants themselves will be loaded, but the redstone mechanisms won't be registering for some reason. And then once all the kelp plants fully grow and all of this is water source blocks, it then turns into just basically, it stops this flowing water from flowing, stopping it from pushing the kelp back. One of them just kicked off, I don't know which one though. I'm going to quickly sleep because once again, as soon as I start recording, it has become night time. So let's just head on over to here. Quickly sleep this night away. Yeah, so I don't know what to do about that. The only way I could probably combat that is by putting in a sort of fail-safe mechanism for it. I've only got 1 rocket left. Hopefully this gets me over there. And there we go. Yeah, so what I'm thinking of doing is, what I may have to do is do a line of sticky pistons facing down with a load of blocks underneath it, so that way if it does create water source blocks there, I can just hit a button for it to get rid of them all in one go. Because at the moment what I'm having to do is run around with dirt. If it does happen, I'll then have to put a load of dirt here to get rid of the water source blocks, because otherwise this water would not be flowing. And now all of this dirt's going to flow into my system, which I'm then going to have to get rid of. Awesome. So yeah, that's a change that I may have to make when I'm sort of capping this area off. I did attempt moving the water from above the observers to a line directly above the redstone, but even then, when a water source block does form just there in front of the observer blocks, it stops this water from flowing, which is slightly annoying. Like, as you can see here, right, you've got water flowing in towards this direction for some reason, which I don't fully understand. But yeah, that's just something I'm going to have to keep an eye on. But before we end this episode off, I did actually, there's 2 things that I wanted to do. One is our achievement, and I think I found quite a simple one to do. So if we do that, let's grab some water, put the water in there, and then we want some dye, and then we could dye that red. And I think it's dye each piece of leather armor using a cauldron with dye to do it. Oh no, is it just one? Fire dye outfit. Okay, apparently I've dyed 2 pieces before, but yeah, happy days on that one. That was a very quick and simple one. Now, let me get back into here. The vote that I wanted to do with you guys is for you to decide how we go on with our man cave. Now, I've not actually done any more building in this place for quite some time actually. I think the last thing we've done was the aquatic update sort of expansion. Now, I'm going to tell you straight off the bat, I've definitely fallen out of love with the prismarine here. So I will be replacing all of the prismarine. I'll either be getting rid of it completely and having this as like an airlock for me to actually just go into the water and then have a conduit down below to swim down and out. Or I may just replace all of the prismarine with some oak wood, maybe some stripped oak logs, and probably cobblestone stairs just to tie it in with the rest of our man cave, because I don't like the transition of going from this into this. It doesn't seem right. It just seems off key. And then another thing is the vote that I want you to vote on is regarding the rest of our man cave, now I am planning on doing a lot more builds down here. We've got our beacon of haste, I believe, which is just over there. So where we're expanding down here, I want to know if you think I should completely flood the lower part of our man cave. So what we would do in respects to doing that is I would actually get rid of all of the glass, all of the prismarine in here, keep all of this flooded, and then have like an airlock here that we can go through, and then we'll be underwater. We'd have a conduit set up down here, so obviously we can still work and see perfectly fine underneath the water. But it may just add a new dimension and a new sort of challenge to building down here. But I think filling it up with water is going to be a bit of a nightmare. And I'm obviously going to have to cap off some areas because this one does actually run down to sort of bedrock level. And then the lower we get, we actually fall down to where my tree farm is. So we're going to have to sort of cap it off in some places to stop water from flowing. But yeah, let me know. I'm going to do a poll in the top right hand corner for you guys to vote on whether or not you think that the lower part of this man cave should actually be completely flooded and underwater to make the most of the aquatic update, because we've not done much building or actual stuff underneath the water. And I was thinking that it could make an interesting change to the sort of dynamics of working down here. I have got some plans of certain builds that I do actually want to put down here. Like, I've sort of smoothed off this area here a little bit. Not too much actually. I thought I had done, but obviously I've not done. But what I wanted to do down here is actually make this like an armor room, because it's got a very natural sort of cave feel to it. And you sort of come down this little stairway and it leads into this sort of just perfectly rounded off area. Now I will obviously be filling in all of the gaps and changing the material out for other stuff, and probably have some decorative armor stands with different armor sets around the room. But yeah, I was thinking that if we do it all underwater, it could add a new sort of interesting dimension to building in our man cave, because we've sort of got the theme of our man cave down set. I really have fallen out of love with the prismarine here, though. I'm not liking it at all. Yeah, with the normal man cave style, we've got like our grass pathways, overgrown side. We've got all the normal cave formations, which we've been sort of adhering to and sticking with. And as you can see with this room here, I changed out all the prismarine here because I didn't like it either. And I think this area looks pretty nice. And yeah, so you guys are going to have to let me know what you think on whether or not I should flood the bottom section of our man cave and just have it as like an aquatic part. But yeah, I'll hopefully see your results in the poll, because I honestly cannot make a decision by myself on that one. I've been thinking about it for probably the better part of around about 3 or 4 weeks, and I've instantly, like, I decided around about 2 weeks ago I want to get rid of this prismarine, but just haven't got round to it. But before I do that, I want to know if I should flood the rest of the lower section of the man cave and obviously replace all of this grass out with probably sand, and then have coral up on the sides and utilise this massive room for something. And then we can have lighting with our sea pickles and maybe some hidden sea lanterns, and I don't know, just like the whole underwater feel. But regarding what I do with this section is dependent on what you decide I should do with the lower section. If I'm going to flood it all, then I'll just get rid of all of this. And if you think that I should keep it with the man cave style and just carry on expanding the way it is, then I'll probably just replace all the prismarine to match more in tone with the rest of our man cave, just so it sort of ties in. So it will come in here and we'll probably have oak logs sort of doing the archway. I'm going to have to take this glass up by 1 layer as well, because it is very it's like you're near enough bumping your head each time you're coming down, which I don't really like. So yeah, we'll probably have to raise the glass here by 1 level and then replace all the prismarine with oak logs, and then yeah, some stone bricks, maybe some cobblestone. I'll sort of decide as and when I actually do it, depending on your poll decisions. So yeah, let me know what you think on that, and I hope, yeah, if I get my words out, hopefully you've enjoyed today's episode. I'm sort of in a rush to try to record this end segment because I've not been up to recording, and I really wanted to be able to get an episode done and dusted and out for you on the Tuesday, which is my usual upload day. Tuesdays and Thursdays is when I try to get the uploads out. So yeah, hopefully you've enjoyed today's episode. Hopefully it's not been too choppy and all over the place. And I do apologise again for the lack of uploads lately. Unfortunately, I can't help my sort of flu or bug that sort of came and attacked me over the week. But yeah, hopefully you've enjoyed it, and I'll hopefully see you all in the next one. Bye bye.